Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Wednesday webinar. My name's Steven. I'm the Product Enablement Manager here at NuORDER, and today we're going to be covering three really important topics that pertain to product visibility and restrictions, also Priceless, and how to set up your warehouses if you have warehouses that are assigned to different companies. So these are three topics that often come up, whether it be, via support channel or during your setup process. And I wanted to just shed some light on how to set them up and, clarify, the different settings and where you have to actually implement them within your portal. So the first thing that I wanted to start off with is going to be customer groups. So, in this particular situation or example, what I'm going to do is I want to set up a customer group to where some customers actually are not able to see, or I don't want them to see a particular category of our product. So in this particular example, we have all these fun sloths here, and these different sloths drink chocolate milkshakes with no cherries. And I'm going to select this specific type of sloth. And this is the type of sloth that I don't want certain customers to see. So after I select this particular category, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then select on the product thumbnail here. I'm going to use one of our newest features on 4.0, which is select all that meet that criteria. I'm then going to go ahead and export this particular product data to an XLSX format in what I prefer, which is vertical. So I'm going to export that now, and that should show up as a download here. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And so as you can see in the category field, we have the drink type of in the category field here, and then we have in the subcategory the actual chocolate milkshake, no cherry. So when I go into my customer group, this is going to be the value that I'm going to be adding as the rule. So the actual customer group is going to be called chocolate milkshake, no cherry, and the actual rule that I'm going to be adding is the value of chocolate milkshake, no cherry. So that way when I apply that to specific customers, I'm going to apply that to customers who I don't want to see chocolate milkshake, no cherry. So when I go into NuORDER here, I'm going to actually go through setting up the customer group. So what I'll do is I'll navigate up here using our menu bar to admin. And many of you are familiar with this now. Most likely have been using it if you're viewing this webinar. And then you'll go into, it's called Manage Brand Users. And then you'll see on the bottom here, we have Manage Customer Groups. And so there's a couple different customer groups set up right now, but just for the sake of this webinar, I'm going to create a new one. So I create a new customer group, and I want to call this chocolate milkshake, no cherry. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into new rule, and I'm going to select the field in the product data that I want to restrict. And so in this case, it's going to be the category. I'm going to add that as a rule. And then the specific value that I'm going to be grabbing is chocolate milkshake, no cherry. And so what you'll notice is that I brought in the value exactly how it exists in the product data. And I know that most of you are familiar with that, is that, the casing and the formatting and the, actual characters in the value in your product data when applying certain rules are very important. So I actually pulled it exactly how it exists, and I recommend you do the same to create that rule. So now that I've created this specific customer group, what I want to do now is I want to apply this customer group to every customer that I don't want to see. So it's a restriction, and I don't want them to see the chocolate milkshake no cherry products. So when I now that I've created this rule, I'm going to make sure that to save here. And if you don't save, it will not save. So make sure, just as a friendly reminder, to save it. And then go back to the actual products gallery here. And then go to your contacts. And then what you can do is there's two ways to add this company or this customer group to your companies. You can either select the company through the contacts tab user interface, or you can download them from your admin page and do it in bulk. So the first way I'm going to show is actually applying the customer group through the contacts UI. So in this instance, I'm going to just select a company here to add this customer group to. So 513 Studio, I'm going to go ahead and select on it, and then you'll see that I can edit it here. So I'm going to edit it, and then I'm going to go to that specific customer group here. And when you select it here, you'll see that my chocolate milkshake no cherry customer group is here. I'm going to go ahead and add that as the customer group. I'm going to save that. And now that specific company is not going to be able to see chocolate milkshake no cherry. So when they actually log into the portal and go to view the products, they're not going to be able to see chocolate milkshake no cherry category here. So another way to add the customer group to all of your companies in bulk is by using this following function. So what you can do is actually go to admin here. And before I go and actually export the company data, I just want to go back into my customer groups real quickly, just to grab the exact rule and what it's called. So this rule is called chocolate milkshake no cherry. I want to actually copy that and then go into my company data. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this, but in your company data, you can download it in bulk here. So I'm going to download without archived companies in a CSV format in horizontal. That's actually my preferred download method for the companies. So I'm just downloading that now, waiting for it. When I open this up, this is your standard company data export, but notice that there is a customer group field here. And so this is where I can apply the value to all the different customers using my customer name. And I can apply that specific customer group to those customers in this field here. So you could see that the one I did earlier, 513 Studio, I applied it, the chocolate milkshake no cherry, and it's now showing up in the export. So that was through the contacts user interface. But now if I want to do it in bulk, I can just continue to add this to other companies that I don't want to see, that I want not to see the chocolate milkshake no cherry. So privileged clothing, I don't want to see chocolate milkshake no cherry sloths products, and same with the essence of Rue. And so it looks like there's some different formatting here. So I'm just going to quickly clear those formats, and so they should show up like this. And so what I'm going to do now is save it. Then I'm going to quickly upload this company data with that new information. And we'll see if we get a successful upload here. If not, I can take you through the troubleshooting as well. So we'll come back to that in 1 second. We'll just let that upload. So before I get back to that, what I want to do is start talking about Priceless. And those are a little bit different than customer groups. So just to quickly recap, customer groups are for restricting products from customers. And you're applying that rule to customers that you don't want to see that particular set of products using certain rules from the product data. But now, if you wanted to assign different pricing to different customers, now I'm not talking about currencies, because currencies, we can do that conversion for you on our end. And we can apply different currencies to these different customers, no problem within, with one setting being turned on. But when it pertains to actually assigning different pricing, so the conversion is not the same from something like USD to CAD, we need to make sure to utilize Priceless. And in order to utilize Priceless, what we have to do is actually create the price list using our customer data, our product data. And then we actually have to go in and assign that price list to the customer data. So similar to the customer groups, when we created the customer group, we then assigned it to that particular customer. That's going to be the same with Priceless. So before I move on, I just quickly want to check to make sure this upload was a success for the customer groups, which is great. So I'm looking through this now, and now those particular customer groups have been applied to the specific customers, that we talked about. So now back to Priceless. So in order to generate a price list, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I'm going to show you the quickest, easiest way that I've done it. And that is using our newest feature, which I can't get enough of, and that's actually exporting product data from the product gallery itself. The reason why I like doing that is because we can really easily refine products on the left here. So if I wanted to get a particular assortment, I can do that. So for me, what I'm going to do here is use the division. So for this division, for these particular slots, which are our products currently, the placeholders, I want to assign different pricing to the EU currency. So I'm going to actually select the division of EU currency here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export all of this data that meets that search criteria. And I'm going to go ahead and export this to a SX vertical format. And so it should show up on the download side over here, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so now I have this up. So here's our product data. Now the reason why I export the product data first is because we need specific fields from the product data to create this price sheet. So remember that I'm going to be creating from our product data specific EU pricing that I want to apply to specific customers. And so the difference between the pricing on the pricing template is that we've assigned default pricing to all of our products, right? And so that lies within our product data. So our default EU price is going to be $100 wholesale and $300 retail. But what I want to assign is another price for EU customers that I want to apply specifically to them. So that's what I'm actually gaining from doing this price sheet. So once I've exported my data, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to admin here. I'm then going to go to pricing templates, and that's found in admin as well. Now, pricing templates does need to be enabled by the NuORDER support team or enablement team. And so if you don't currently have pricing templates enabled for your portal, go ahead and send an email to heroes@nuorder.com, and we will go ahead and enable that for you. So now that I've logged into pricing templates, what you have is you have the current pricing templates that are being represented in this portal already. And so what you notice about them is you can actually download them here or delete them here. So what I'm going to use is actually a download to get the template that I want for that particular price list. So the template that a price list is uploaded as is seen here, and then you can also request it from our team, or you can find it in a help desk article for that actual template. So this is the template that I want to use. So the reason why I downloaded is I just wanted to get the headers from it. So this is the actual template I'm going to use. So you'll see that there's a couple different things in here that I wanted to show you. So the style number, season, color. So that's why I exported the product data, was because there's these required fields in this template. So the main required fields are your style number, your season, your color, your size is what I'm taking from the product data, right? And then you'll notice this disable column. So what I want to do first is I want to set up the actual products. So I exported all the products from NuORDER that are that I want to assign to new EU pricing. And so now that I see my style number, season, and color here, I can go ahead and I can just grab these from the product data, select them all. I can go ahead and paste them in here. So now I've got my style number, season, and color, right? So it's important to know is that if your products are at the price per size level, you can put them in here as price per size. But if they're not at the price per size level, you don't need to worry about size. But in my case, the price per size does matter. So I'm going to bring over the size as well. So size 1. And so since I did it vertically for this export, that's going to help bring over my size. If you did it horizontal, you'd have to pull over, size 1 first, and then size 2 and size 3 and so forth. But since I have it vertical, I can just grab it here, can copy it, then I can paste it into my size. And then the next thing that I want to do is I want to dictate what my actual wholesale and retail price are for this. So what I'm going to do, just as an example, is I want my wholesale price for EU to be 200 for these particular products and their sizes. And I want my retail price to be 300. And this is all purely an example just to show you the function of the price list. And so now that I've assigned my wholesale price and retail price, and this would be different for everyone, what I want to do is I want to name this price sheet. So the name of this price sheet for me is going to be EUR pricing. And so that's how I want my pricing list to be named, and how did I want it to display when assigning it. So you have 2 columns here. So these product archive, product disabled actually use the same function as if you were using it in the product data. So if you archive a product here, it will archive that product. And if you disable a product here, it will disable that product. So in this instance, I'm not actually going to be using these 2 columns currently because I don't want to do either of those right now. But if you wanted to, you could simply apply Ys or Ns for yes or no in either of them, if you did use that. But for this example, I'm not going to be using that currently. But I will be using this disabled column because that's a required column. And this disabled column is specific to the price list. So this disabled column does not apply to the product data. So I want to just take a couple seconds to explain the disabled column. So currently on this price list, I'm going to make everything not disabled. And so what I can do is I can actually control this price list and its visibility for pricing by this disabled column. So currently every item on this price list is not disabled because I've marked disabled as no. But if I ever wanted to allow a particular product to go back to its default pricing, the pricing that we actually assigned in the product data, which is here. So if I wanted it to go back to its default pricing that's in the product data here, I could actually disable it on the price list and it would just automatically go back to its default pricing. So the use case for this would be if this customer had EU pricing assigned to it for these particular products on the top here, but then we decided that we wanted to actually go back to the default pricing for that particular customer. Since the EU price list is going to be assigned to all these different customers, we wanted to actually take this product off of it, we could just select Y and put it into this disabled column and then re-upload it, and it would actually go, this product would go back to its default pricing as indicated in the product data. And so that's really important, as that's how you can control your price list without having to either create a new one or delete products off of it. You can always control the visibility with this disabled column, which is really important. So, so I'm going to go back to all the products on this price list are not going to be disabled for the sake of my examples. And I'm going to actually, now that I've created my price list here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this price list as my what's called EUR price list to my desktop, and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go back to NuORDER under pricing templates, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop it. And if we run into any errors, I will do the error handling here. But we had a success, which is fantastic. So now that we have EUR pricing set for these particular products, what it's going to happen is you can see it shows up as a price list down on the bottom here that we can either delete at any point we want or download it. So now that we've created the price list, it's really important. We need to assign this to the specific customers that we're going to be assigning this pricing to. So once again, I will go into the context tab to show you how to do it via our user interface first. In my opinion, I think that's the easiest way if it's assigning one-off customers. So I will go back to the actual 513 Studio that we applied a customer group to earlier. I'm going to go into 513 Studio. I'm going to edit 513 Studio, and then I'm going to go to the pricing template, and I'm going to assign it to EUR pricing. So now this customer doesn't see default pricing anymore. It sees EUR pricing that we just assigned via the price list. So just kind of the alternative, if you were going to be doing it in a bulk upload for your companies, you would go to navigate to admin again. You would then go to your company data here. You would then download your company data. I'm going to do without archive companies in a horizontal format. That's my preferred choice. In a CSV format. I'm going to open up the company data. And then I'm going to go ahead and search for what we call EUR price sheet. So it's important to see here that the EUR price sheet that we just assigned under 513 Studio is now showing up, which is great. But then we can actually take that price list and we can assign it to any other EUR price EUR customers, right? So just a side note, if you have your country set up, you can always search by European countries, or if you know the city, you can search by European cities and things of that nature, or you could even search by currency codes. So say for instance I wanted to apply this price sheet to only EUR currency selected customers, I could actually do a quick filter. I could select this currency code EUR, and then I could just apply this price list to all of these customers, which I'm going to do. So this is a bulk upload instead of doing it as one-offs. And so now that I've assigned that customer this price sheet, I'm going to save this company data. And now that I've saved this company data, I'm going to go ahead and just re-upload it. And I'm going to wait for that to upload and move on to our next topic before this gets done uploading. And once it does, I'll go back to check it to make sure it has successful upload. So moving on to the next subject, which is going to be how to set up warehouses. So I'm not actually going to go through setting up warehouses in your inventory. I just want to go through how you in fact set up warehouses and then assign them to different customers in preparation of setting up inventory for them, which is always going to be the first step in doing that. So we'll be covering how to actually set up inventory and warehouses in a webinar later this month, most likely hosted by me. But for now, I just want to walk you through how to actually set up your initial warehouses. So the way you do that is, actually before I move on, we got a success here, so that's fantastic. So that means that price list was in fact assigned to all of those customers that I indicated that I want to have EU pricing. So now if you went back into your contacts here, you would see that those particular customers with that currency code had that EU pricing. So I can actually just quickly go check a couple of them. So one company is called British Fancy Boutique. And if I go to British Fancy Boutique in here, I should find that the price list that it is assigned to is EUR pricing, which is here. So if you wanted to see that at a more granular level, you could go in and here and see it under pricing template, which is great. So now that company can only see the specific pricing that we assigned on our price list, which is here. So now success, that's great. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump back over to the warehouses again. So just follow with me here to admin, and you're going to go into warehouses actually fall into your inventory area. So I'm going to go ahead and go into inventory here. Excuse me, not inventory, but inventory settings. Apologies for that. Inventory is where you actually upload the inventory data. This is where inventory settings, where you set up all of your inventory preferences, right? So the first thing you see is manage warehouses. So in order to set up a warehouse, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set your default warehouse. So if you actually don't, in fact, have a default warehouse that you want to set up, you can just create a new one. So in this particular instance, I'm going to actually use default warehouse, and I'm going to set it up with a code called default1. I'm then going to add a new warehouse that I want to call US1. I'm actually going to, I'm going to call the name of the warehouse United States. And then I'm going to make the code called US1. And I'm going to make the code for this one DF1 again and save it because it didn't save. So there we go. And I'm going to save this one as well. And then I'm going to just make one more warehouse called EUR, but also I'm going to call it Europe. And I'll make the code for it EUR1. Save. So now the whole purpose of this is that I'm actually going to be sending inventory for applicable customers from these warehouses. So when you have customers that are getting shipped inventory, or anytime they sell, your reps are selling, your in-house contacts for sales are selling to these particular customers, they're selling out of inventory out of these particular warehouses. So now that we've set up our warehouses, the next thing we need to do is actually go into the customer data and actually assign those warehouses. So just to recap, first step, set up the warehouse's inventory settings. Second step, go to the customer data and actually apply those warehouses. So when I go into the warehouses in your customers, I'm going to first show you how to do it in the customer contacts tab that is in our user interface to assign them. So just going to go to the one that we've been using is 513 Studio, and I'm actually going to edit it, and I'm going to make sure that warehouse selected for it is Europe, because this is a EUR company. We already applied a pricing template for EUR pricing. We wanted to make sure that the customer group was restricting a certain type of product, but not only that, we want to make sure that that customer is getting shipped and pulling inventory from a specific warehouse, and this particular warehouse is Europe. So I'm going to save that, and now anytime when you set up your inventory for that particular warehouse and customer, it's going to be pulling from that. So the other way to do it, aside from doing it as one-offs in the contacts tab, is going into, once again, your customer data here, downloading it, which I already have it up, so I'm going to use that. And then going to your warehouse column here in your company data and assigning the different warehouses. So in this particular instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and filter first for USD. I'm going to make my warehouse call, it's actually called USD1. That's the name of the warehouse. And then I'm going to go to all my EUR companies. I'm going to call it EUR1. It's the name of the warehouse that I'm assigning it to. I'm then going to go ahead and save this and re-upload. And so now that I've done that, when I actually go back into my contacts tab, you'll notice that all of those particular customers have been assigned to that specific warehouse. And so, this is really important as the preparation to actually set up your inventory, which we're going to go on in a later webinar. But if you do, have any questions about setting up any of the particular topics that I've described and outlined in this webinar, we are going to be, we can send this webinar to you directly, or you can look at it on our YouTube channel, which I urge everyone to check out. It's NuORDER. If you just search NuORDER on YouTube, you can go there. Also, we can send you help desk articles on these particular settings and functions. And we can actually send you the templates as well if you need them. So if you have any questions, just email heroes@nuorder.com. And I hope all of you have a fantastic Wednesday. Thank you.